Hi, and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's top 10 episodes of Breaking Bad. For this video, I count down my 10 favorite episodes of Breaking Bad, but with a major spoiler warning ahead. As with all of my top 10 videos, you shouldn't be watching this unless you've seen the entire series. So, as with all my top 10 videos, I'll start out by giving my bottom 5 least favorite episodes of Breaking Bad. Though it should be noted that many of these episodes I feel were necessary for the character development of the overall series, and thus I think they had to be done in order to enrich the overall story of the show, but I didn't think they worked as standalone individual episodes, and whenever I rewatch this series, these are the episodes I really want to skip over. Number 5 is Kafkaesque. Now, there are a few good moments in this episode, such as Skyler coming up with the gambling story and Walt meeting with Gustavo to tell him that he figured out what he did. But the rest of the episode is fairly boring, filled with pointless scenes such as Jesse hatching a plan to steal meth and sell it on the side, and Walt hanging out around Hank's hospital bed. So, not one of the best of the series. Number 4 is Shotgun. This episode starts out exciting with Walt freaking out thinking that they've killed Jesse, but it turns out to be just a huge cop-out as Jesse just went off with Mike to do odd jobs. And the rest of the episode deflates from there and turns out quite boring, with Skyler messing around with the car wash and Jesse being annoying to Mike, kind of a letdown. Number 3 is 4 Days Out. This is the episode you learn Walt's cancer is in remission, but the rest of the episode is what I call filler, as it is some silly story about Walt and Jesse getting stuck out in the desert because Jesse's an idiot. This episode is mostly a waste of time. Number 2 is Cancer Man. I found this to be the epitome of boring, with nothing really interesting going on and nothing to latch on to, as it's mostly Walt hanging with his family and Jesse hanging with his family. Although it does set the tone for how prideful Walt is going to be about his cancer in the future, there's nothing really in this episode to give it a good plot. And my number 1 least favorite episode of Breaking Bad is Fly. This is the silliest episode and a gigantic waste of time. I mean, they take Walt's obsessive behavior way beyond, what it makes sense, as he freaks out over a fly being stuck in the lab and says they're all dead unless they catch it. Not only is this out of character for Walt, but that's totally ridiculous and an obvious attempt to artificially create stakes in the script that doesn't really work. Although there are some good character interactions between Walt and Jesse, the main premise of the episode is just stupid, and the whole thing is filler and can just be skipped over without missing anything. And now on to my top 10 favorite episodes of Breaking Bad, starting with my number 10, 1 Minute. After teasing us all season with Tuco's badass cousins, we finally see things come to a head when they come to kill Hank, and one of the most intense scenes of the whole series, and one of the most perfect ways to end an episode. Plus, this episode starts with Hank beating the living piss out of Jesse after the events in the previous episode where Jesse and Walt made Hank think his wife was in a car accident in order to lose him. The aftermath of Jesse being stuck in the hospital and Hank being put on suspension also made this episode great. Number 9 is Phoenix. In this intense second season episode, Jesse's drug addiction comes to a head, causing Walt to miss his baby's birth, and things only get worse from there when Jesse's girlfriend Jane has her dad discover that her and Jesse are still using. He threatens to call the police on her, which forces her to blackmail Walt on Jesse's behalf in order to get the money Jesse's owed. But it all ends horribly when Walt sees Jane as the cause of Jesse's addiction, so when he sees her dying and has the chance to save her, he doesn't. Definitely Walt's biggest leap into darkness, which will color the shape of things to come for the rest of the series, and in a weird way shows how devoted Walt is to Jesse, but man, that's dark. Definitely good television. Number 8 is Confessions. I love the second half of the fifth season so much. It's by far my favorite part of the series, and this episode is a great representative of the Walt and Hank conflict, as it was so awesomely tense scene you get in the Mexican restaurant where Walt and Skyler face off against Hank and Maria. And of course, the recording Walt made blaming Hank for everything is pure brilliance, one of the tensest moments in the series. And on top of all that, you have Walt talking Jesse into using the disappearer guy, which Jesse turns down once he realizes Walt was responsible for poisoning Brock. And then all hell breaks loose. After 5 seasons of building the Walt and Jesse relationship, it brings us to the point where Jesse is pouring gasoline all over Walt's house in an amazing way to end an episode. Number 7 is End Times. One of the tensest episodes of the series, when Walt is backed into a corner thinking his family is in danger, so he comes out with a plan, which we learn about in the next episode. But in this episode, we get one of the greatest scenes of the series, when Jesse learns Brock was poisoned and assumes it was Walt who did it and puts a gun to his head ready to shoot him. Man, that was intense. But Walt convinces Jesse it was Gus who did it, so they work together to try to kill him. But Gus has some uncanny sixth sense where he can just sense danger and doesn't fall for it. That scene was mega intense as well. Number 6 is Half Measures. The follow-up to this episode, Full Measures, where Jesse is forced to kill Gale, was awesome as well. But I put this episode in to represent the two, because this is an amazing episode where Walt actually runs down the 2 thugs and shoots them in the head in order to save Jesse. One of the most amazing moments of the series. And it was executed so well because you did not see it coming, because Walt had foiled Jesse's plan to kill the 2 people who killed Combo and was using his girlfriend's nephew to sell drugs. Everything about this episode is great. Jesse trying to use the meth head hooker to kill those guys, Mike's speech to Walt about half measures, and Gus trying to mediate between Jesse and the drug dealers, and all leading to an extremely intense ending. Number 5 is Say My Name. The follow-up to This Is Gliding All Over was also great, where Walt stands silently drinking while 11 people in different prisons are killed. But I decided to put this episode in to represent the both, because this is the episode where shit goes down. And of course, the beginning scene in this episode, from which the episode derives its name, is one of the most classic of the entire series. This is Walt's journey into Kingpin drug lord Heisenberg at its height. So basically, Walt's journey into darkness is complete in these 2 episodes, and it's very exquisite. And this is where Walt goes wrong with Jesse and kicks him out in anger and refuses to give him any money because he won't stay. That scene with the 2 of them was also the height of the relationship's journey, as what he did to Jesse will come back to haunt him. And of course, this also has the scene where Walt kills Mike because Mike wounds his pride, which is ultimately Walt's greatest fault and his undoing his pride. Number 4 is Felina. Nothing really shocking happens in this episode, as it goes down pretty much as you would expect it would, with Walt getting revenge on the neo-Nazis that killed Hank and stole his money, and freeing Jesse before dying. But this episode needed to happen, and it was glorious end to the series. There were some grand moments worthy of being Breaking Bad's finale, such as Walt using his intelligence to trick Gretchen and Elliot into giving his money to his family, which was his final goal. And the way it ties up into the flash forward scenes we got earlier in the season was amazing. How he used the monstrous gun he bought to kill the neo-Nazis, and how he used the ricin to kill Lydia. And of course, he finally admits to Skyler that he didn't do it for the family, he did it for himself. Number 3 is Salud. This is Gus's episode, as we get his journey down to Mexico in order to get revenge on the drug cartels. The tension between Gustavo and the drug cartels had been building all season, and in the previous episode we got Gus's backstory on how the cartels killed Gustavo's protege, who was like a son to him. And the way he gets revenge on them in the same place that they killed his protege was fucking amazing. And add to that Jesse's scene where he shows off what a badass he is by cooking meth. Was amazing how he went up to that Mexican chemist and called him an asshole, and who replied he spoke English, to which Jesse replied, "Oh, so you know what asshole means, asshole." That was awesome. And on top of that, we get the side story with Ted being a dick and refusing to pay the IRS, which was good, but the cartel scenes were just simply amazing. Number 2 is Face Off. The amazing 4th season finale where Jesse and Walt, backed into a corner, finally come up with a plan to outwit Gustavo by using his mortal enemy, Tio Salamanca, the old paralyzed guy who can only ring a bell, who first appeared in season 2, who mostly appeared to just be comic relief, but his character expanded over the years to have a special rivalry and hatred for Gustavo, making him the perfect bait for Walt to kill him with. And what a glorious death it was for such a great villain. And to top it all off, we learned that Walt actually was the one responsible for poisoning Brock in order to trick Jesse into helping him. Truly amazing episode. And my number 1 favorite episode of Breaking Bad is Ozymandis. In the DVD commentary, show creator Vince Gilligan called this the best episode of the series, and I'm going to have to agree with him. Although the 2 episodes after this had to happen, and as you see, I loved the finale as well, but this is the episode the entire series was building to. This was the culmination of the whole story, where Walt's endeavors he took at the start of the series leads to this, his greatest downfall. As Hank is killed, Jesse is taken captive and forced to cook meth against his will. Most of Walt's money that he made was stolen from him, but more than that, Walt's family falls apart when Junior finally learns what Walt is, and his family rejects him and refuses to go with him, with some of the most intense and well-acted scenes and overall best scenes of the entire series, such as Skyler pulling a knife on Walt and Junior calling the police on him, which led to Walt to kidnap his daughter. Truly amazing. And it all ends with Walt's heartbreakingly tragic call to Skyler, where he takes on a persona of being an abusive husband in order to convince the police that he knows are listening and that she had nothing to do with it. You can see the heartbreak on Walt's face that contradicts the words that he's saying, and what I would say is the best scene of the entire series. So that's it for my top 10 best episodes of Breaking Bad. Check out my channel for other TV show reviews, and thanks a lot for watching.